To all those above me that watch over me, to all of you, my fave parapeeps on this side of the veil, welcome. This is going to be one of those shows, guys. My co host has had some uh, personal issues come up. God bless her. She's in my prayers. Annette Munich couldn't make the show today. One of my guests, the one and only Bernadine Richardson, is where she's at in Louisiana is having some really, really bad weather, and we just couldn't. We tried and tried, but we just couldn't get the connection to go. So we suspect possibly, I always call her Alan, but I know it's more Eileen. Eileen Pustanio is her co-host on the Supernatural Substation, and she's supposed to be here, and we haven't seen her yet. We suspect she might be having some issues too. They both live down there in Louisiana, so we'll see what happens. So you got me today, just little old me, or big old me. And before I forget, so I don't have to hear it later, I'm just going to get this out of the way. Hi, Salty. So there you have it. I got that out of the way. I have a fellow Benedictine brother that always, according to him, gets a little salty with me when I don't say hi to him during the live show. So there you go. I got that out of the way. Um, okay, this is Father Sean Whittington's Paranormal Ministry Live. I'm your host, Father Sean Whittington. Who is Father Sean Whittington? Well, I'm an ordained Catholic priest with the United States Old Catholic Church. I'm a fully professed brother in the Old Catholic Benedictines of Immaculate Mary. I'm a member of the Society of Saint Benedict and co-founder of Ghost Be Gone. Whew, that was a mouthful, huh? So that is it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. If there's anything you want to know about my wife and I and our ministry work, go to our website, www.ghost-b-gone.biz. If you go there to visit, keep in mind that my wife and I don't charge for our ministry work helping people with their paranormal issues. So if you go there to visit, a lot of cool things to see, but if you go there to visit, um, trust me, brothers and sisters, I know times are tough. But if you notice the donate button and you're able to do so, click on it and send my ministry in a small donation. I promise you it'll be appreciated from the bottom of my heart. And trust me, I'll put it to good use. On that note, this is the part of ministry that never comes easy for me. I'm working on it, but it never comes easy for me. So what I'm doing right now is shaking my tin can or my Go Speak On coffee mug, and I'm passing around the offering basket and asking for a little help. We have another big United States Old Catholic Church, Old Catholic Benedictines of Immaculate Mary, Society of St. Benedict retreat coming up April of next year. I already know I'm going to have a hard time getting there. It's, in Illinois. I'm in Las Vegas. I'm retired now, so I'm on a fixed income, and life happens, and so the struggle is real. So it's going to take nothing short of a miracle for me to get there. So if you're willing to help Father Sean in his cause to get there, I need to get my round trip airfare. I need to pay for my room and board there for 3 or 4 days at the retreat center. I need a rental car when I get there. So any little bit helps. And I promise you, you will be put on a very special prayer list, and you will get a personal thank you from me if you're able to do that. And a few of you already have, and God bless you for that, because I know everybody's struggling. So I just really appreciate that. Those of you that have, God bless you. So if that's how you want to help me out, go to the website and do that. But while you're there, there's other things you can do. Like my books are there. God, Ghosts, and the Paranormal Ministry, and God, Ghosts, and the Paranormal Ministry too. The cool thing about I have another announcement to make. These just went. I succumbed to peer pressure, and these books are now available in audio. How cool is that? I didn't fight that, but I just never put my books on audio. So now they're available on audio on Amazon, and I'll make that official announcement later. But if you get the books off of my website, they come from my office here, my author's copies. I autograph them. I can't promise you that increases the value of them. Probably not. But I autograph them, and they come to you blessed and enclosed in a house blessing kit, which who couldn't use a house blessing kit? You never know. And part of the proceeds, this is the best part of the proceeds of every sale of every copy of my books goes to support stjude.org, St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, Nevada, and the ASPCA. So how cool is that? You get to help some of the neediest children on the planet and the animals too. That's very, very cool. And on that note, do it for St. Francis, the patron saint of animals. He would appreciate any donations to the ASPCA or any other animal group that you might want to support. So, what else do I want to tell you guys?
I'm just sitting here kind of thinking, Sean, if we only knew somebody who raised money for people, if we only knew somebody whose program raised money for people who are doing good in the community. Geez, maybe sometime we can find something.
I like this because you can go right from the mini-me thing to the deep thought. The mini-me to the deep thought. I like that. That's a good move. Well, before I let you go, I want to say something. Before I let you go, I want you to fill everybody, because I've been getting questions from people about this. I think you and Adrian may be stuck up in the mountains in Colorado somewhere and don't think people think about you, and we do. My thoughts about the two of you aren't always the best, I'll admit that. But a lot of people reach out to me. One, they want to know how Adrian's doing because they remember you had to rush her to the hospital last Friday, and I had to have a new producer come in, some weird dude named Jeremy York from Things Network. He was a weird dude.
Yeah.
He had a pirate eye patch on and stuff. I don't know what that was all about. So he had to do the show for you. And then you just had some really, really bad weather there. Your office got flooded out.
Yeah.
And people, I don't know why people don't just go to you and ask you what's going on, but they always come to me. How are the two of them doing, your co-producers? So you've got the floor, brother.
Well, Adrian is doing fine. We were just a little worried about past medical scare that may have popped its ugly head, but luckily it was not that. She is doing just fine. She's well on her way back to feeling better. We got lucky. It was a strain instead of anything serious. And yeah, we ended up coming down after one heck of a storm on Tuesday night. I know a lot of everybody's seen all the crazy weather that's going on, and our home, my basement, our office area, ended up walking into about 3 to 6 inches of flood water. We had one place where we had a good stack of about an inch of mud that came through, and it just really destroyed a lot of the carpet, and we got very lucky.
You being down in a basement, are the walls like block or brick, or do you have like drywall that might get rotted?
Certain walls are the hard, plaster walls. Other walls are drywall.
Because I know
The
your
house
house
was
is
built.
very, yeah,
It was built in 1908, so I mean it's been here for a day or two. So
yeah,
but it's almost as old as you are there, Sean. So, but
yeah.
so but we got very lucky that this is all. I know that I would like to personally send out my condolences to, and I don't know the person, thankfully, but we did end up losing a fellow Greeleyite to this storm. It took their lives somehow, and I'm going to say it again. I know I've said it before, Sean, but we need to really be careful and make sure that we're not challenging this these weather. We need to start taking it serious because there's some dangerous stuff going on right now, and we're losing too many people when they should be. When somebody says, "Hey, you might want to consider getting out of here," consider getting out of there. Start protecting yourselves. Don't be a hero. Don't be the tough guy because tough guys get hurt in the end, right? So, but
Well, I don't want to. I don't want to air. First of all, I love you and Adrian a lot, and you guys have been on my prayer list since I've known you two. But people think about you a lot. People reach out to me and ask about you too all the time. I'm glad you guys not only got through that issue with the weather and all that. Adrian had mentioned, and I'm only speaking on this because I suffer it too. Adrian had mentioned there was some of the doctors or whoever she saw might have thought she might also be having gout. And a lot of people, when they hear gout, they think, oh, yeah, it's because you got a bad diet and you're fat and you drink too much. Well, no, I know plenty of people that don't drink alcohol are, in the best shapes of their life, and they're, you know, POW skinny, and they still have gout. I got gout probably because of my drinking back in the day, and probably a lot of diet related too, but it's also very hereditary. But that's some of the most if those of you out there that have gout know what I'm talking about. It's one of the most a flare up is one of the most painful things I've ever experienced in my life. It would start at the knees. My knees would get like twice the size as they are. It would go down to the ankles. The ankles would get twice the size as they are. Then that would go into the foot. And my foot would look like you couldn't even stick your finger between the toes. It looked like one of those rubber surgical gloves that you blew up that was about to pop, and I couldn't walk. So I'm a lifetime user of a drug called allopurinol. I'm on it was higher doses back in the day to get it under control. Now I'm on a very low dose of it. But the thing is I've also got this medicine called colchicine, and it's just for emergency purposes. You leave it in the cabinet. But if I do have a flare up, and I haven't, knock on wood, haven't had one in a long, long time. But when you have a flare up, you take this colchicine, and I don't really understand the theory behind this. But what the colchicine does is it just makes you vomit your guts out. I know, guys, TMI, like a dozen times in a row, vomit, 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 to get all that excess uric acid out of your abdomen so it doesn't continue to spread because it's the excess uric acid in your system that causes the gout flare ups. And what gout is basically is it's these crystallization of the joints. You get these really sharp uh, crystallization crystals on your joints that develop. It's brutal. So if that is what she ends
mhm.
up having, tell her whatever, there may be different medications and new treatments for it now, to just do whatever the doctors tell her to do. And if that's the case, yeah, that's not fun stuff. You feel like I can't even tell you what you feel like. When I first had my first flare ups, um, it was just brutal. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we got lucky. That's not what it was. It was just
Oh,
irritation. So, Just to let you know, Sean, we need you to go on ahead and get through the rest of your introduction here. We have ALYNE with us, so.
Oh, cool. Very, very cool. God bless her. She made it. So, yeah, let me wrap up my opening here, guys. So, go to the website. My books are there, or you can get them a little less expensive at Amazon. Um, and now the books are available in audio on Amazon. My course is there, Introduction to Spiritual Warfare. This is the course for all you true warriors for Christ that feel a calling and a longing to learn how to draw your line in the sand, make a stand, put up a good fight. Uh, God forbid, maybe the fight of your life against true evil, if it ever comes calling, this is the course for you. You can enroll there at the website, or if you want to know more about the course before making that type of commitment, you can go to Father Sean Whittington's Introduction to Spiritual Warfare course Facebook page and read more about the course. But all my students that graduate get a stunning diploma, certificate of completion, suited for framing, along with some other very special blessed gifts that you can only get from yours truly. And then there's also a place there where you can make an appointment to speak with me about your spiritual issues. So I didn't do this on Friday. I got to do it. I'm sorry to keep ALYNE waiting any longer, but I got to do. I got to check the prayer urn real quick. I got so many prayers in this week. I'll just pull one out, and then I'm going to pull a question out of the mailbag because it may be a question that Miss Pustanio would like to help me with. Vicky B from California. Hi, Vicky. I often hear you say society has gotten away from God. Could you pray for those looking for God that they find Him? This, what I love about this is it's for all of us, and it gives me an opportunity to say my newest favorite prayer, and it comes from the St. Benedict's prayer book, and it's called Searching for God. So I offer this prayer up to mankind and everybody searching for something in their life. And if they haven't found God yet, keep searching. You'll find Him because He's found you. So now He wants you to find Him. In the name of the Father and of the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen. O Lord my God, teach my heart this day where and how to see you, where and how to find you. You have made me and remade me, and you have bestowed on me all the good things I possess. And still I do not know you. I have not yet done that for which I was made. Teach me to seek you, for I cannot seek you unless you teach me, or find you unless you show yourself to me. Let me seek you in my desire. Let me desire you in my seeking. Let me find you by loving you. Let me love you when I find you. Amen. That is for all of you guys. And I know I can just feel it. And I will do it after the show. I will light a candle for each and every one of us after the show. Let me check the mailbag real quick. And this might be a question that I'm going to show ALYNE. Greg, I think from Washington. Why do some exorcisms not work? Wow, that is a good question. Oh my gosh, I could do a whole show just on that. And I will uh, put ALYNE's feet to the fire and see if she has an opinion on that. Short version, only God knows why. Okay, sometimes God allows some possessions to take place because He knows that that person is going to be delivered. But there's people around that person that need to witness true evil and then the glory of God delivering that person. Most of the time, in my humble opinion, people are targeted because they've done something also. Mainly dabbled in this field, that the paranormal field, without any training, being at the wrong place at the wrong time, saying and doing the wrong thing, getting, the attention of these things that you don't want their attention and they target you. Or you've practiced the black arts. A lot of people pervert their, I'm going to get hate mail, but witches and pagans, I know many of them that are friends of mine, and they don't pervert their religious belief system and make it ugly and conjure and do spells and curse people and stuff. They don't do that. But those in that under that umbrella that do a lot of that, a lot of them have issues, and then they come to me. Trust me. Okay. Um, Bernadine is not with us today. God bless her. But who we do have with us today is her co-host of the Supernatural Substation. Getting together with either one of them or both of them always feels like a family reunion because I've known them forever. They feel like my sisters from another mother. But um, ALYNE happens to be a world-renowned, critically acclaimed paranormalist slash horror author, New Orleans horror author. Um, so just I love her. I respect her. She's just very cool. Hopefully, her signal's coming in real good. Without further ado, please give a big, warm paranormal ministry family welcome to the one and only ALYNE Pustanio.
Well, hello. What an
What are you
introduction.
What are you doing?
Sitting here listening to the thunder and the rain. It's
Oh my
perfect
gosh.
weather for us to talk about all of
Okay.
this. Yep.
Well, it was. I felt so bad for. I could just see on Bernadine's face how disappointed she was. But
She couldn't
we
be here.
couldn't. She would freeze, and then we
Mm-hmm.
could hear her good, but she'd
Hang
be
on, I'm
frozen.
here. I'm just turning on a light.
And then she would, if she came in, the voice didn't match the mouth, but
Uh-huh.
then she'd freeze again. Then we'd totally lose her. And we kept trying to get the connection good for about 10 minutes. Finally, we realized it ain't gonna happen. I'll get her or her and you both back on here.
Mm-hmm.
I promised her I'd throw her some dates again after the show today. So
Yeah.
let's hope your signal stays good with you.
Mine's
Um,
fine. She's been having a lot of trouble on our last couple of shows. She's had to like go to different locations. I don't know what's going on in Southwest Louisiana. I guess it's close to all that weather that was going on in Texas, and then that went up that way. So she's just been losing signal. So it's not just today; it's been an ongoing problem. At one point, they all lost their cell phones for like a day. Uh,
wow.
don't know why. Of course, I have conspiracy theories about that, but I think it's just the weather, probably.
Well,
Probably.
I want to say a few things about you. I feel
Oh
like
boy.
I feel like that stuff is TMI. I'll keep that
Okay.
on the down low. Um, there's some things I just want some people to know about you before um, I lose you or the show is over. I want people to know about two things. One, you have a beautiful. Now, I used to call when I first met you, the spelling of your name, I thought it was Alan. And then Bernadine always corrects me, says, no, she goes by ALYNE. So is it
Mhm.
ALYNE? Okay.
It's ALYNE actually. ALYNE.
Oh,
But
ALYNE.
yeah, it's my mother did that to me. It's usually you've seen the name ALENE or ALINE, and she changed that I to a Y, and it's just been like that, and then stuck it on that last name that I have, and then it's just been that way ever since. So,
Well,
but
I love it. It's very it sticks with you.
wow,
Everybody that I said, who's your guest this week? And I say, ALYNE,
yeah.
ALYNE Pustanio, and they go, I've heard of her. So
Oh
everybody's heard of
Lord.
you. Well, you guys have been around. I remember when even back, I want to say back, well, even before I had my radio show in 2015. Before that, I want to say around 2010, and I could be wrong. I could be thinking of two other girls in the paranormal field, but I think you guys had the supernatural substation back then. When did you guys start that?
Um, Probably now, yeah. Well, I don't know, about 7 years ago, maybe.
And then you guys took a little hiatus. Congrats that you guys are back.
Yeah,
Um,
we did, and
doing it again. That's great.
we had brought on Pete Haviland of Lone Star Paranormal as our co-host about a year before we took a break from it, and then he passed away.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
now it's going to be 2 years, and so every show we do is dedicated to him. He was the man.
yeah.
He
I
definitely was.
very very cool dude. I had him on my radio show a couple of times,
Hmm.
and just a great guest and a good friend too. I mean, even though we never met in person, didn't talk a lot, we would just send messages back and forth a lot and just
Yeah.
have some great conversations. So he was a
Yeah,
very,
he
very
has
good
some place
witness.
in my heart like you do. You're just a sweetheart. And he always called us his ladies,
Very,
or
very
his
good.
girls, and then we would do dog comparisons because I have a Doberman and he had that Great Dane. So it's
Oh,
like,
that's right.
who's
I
the
almost don't
Dobie or
want
the
to
Dane?
ask. I almost don't want to ask what happened to his dog after he passed.
I don't know, but his wife survived him, so I think that
Okay.
she still kept the dog. But I don't know that they got rid of it. I didn't see anything like that. I was just shocked at his death. Didn't expect that at all. And unfortunately, like when we stopped doing the show for the UPRN network, it was just burnout. It really was just burnout. Like you can't go, you can't go anymore. And there's a couple of shows which I erased where it's just like it was over here and then it was up there, and I was like, no. I'm not going to be mean to guests. I'm not going to be rude. I told Bernadine and Pete if they wanted to continue while I just took a break, it was fine. And then Dean said, and Dean was going through a lot of personal stuff at the time too. So we kind of just stepped back from it. Now we're trying to build it back up, and we have all the the old shows that we are going to upload to YouTube. We're just in the infancy stage of building it back up. But Dean and I have known each other since 2007, so it's been a long time. And immediately we kind of were on the same level of sort of like gaping at paranormal TV shows and the things that were going on that we were seeing. And this meaning the provoking, the bad advice, go do this, don't do, go in the cemetery and do this, go in the, just the bad advice and the shoddy techniques that people were using, and then the misuse of religion where they would just they things like somebody who is not ordained or is not even really religious throwing holy water around and carrying rosaries and stuff. So Dean and I were like on the same level with that, and we saw eye to eye, and we really saw a need for somebody to talk about how dangerous some of this stuff was, because they were out there replicating at the time. It was just bam. It was right after Ghost Hunters had come out, and uh, what is it, Ghost Adventures, and then Most Haunted, and it was just show after show after show, and it was all stuff that was like, these are going to get some people in trouble, really bad trouble, where they
Yeah.
end up needing somebody like you to come in. And so we thought if we could just educate them a little bit and tell them about make them understand that the supernatural is real. These are objectively real entities and beings that you're dealing with. And a lot of the researchers at the time, and still, they don't think it's real. Well, I'm a skeptic, but I'm open to, well, okay.
I
Well, they
never
don't care
understood
if you're,
I never understood why somebody got into this field being a diehard skeptic. I never really understood that, because most of the people like you and I get into
Mhm.
this because they've had experiences that originally either fascinated them, most of the time scared them to death, and
Yeah.
then they start searching for answers as to what was it I really experienced, or some people just have that bug in them that makes them, for whatever reason, makes them passionate about investigating the paranormal
Hmm.
and going to spooky places. But I'll tell you, people are always surprised when I tell them, especially now, the majority of the clients that come to me are people that are are in that field, paranormal investigations. And they
Hmm.
usually, I find what happens is that they don't, well, many of them don't want to do residential. And I say that's where your mistake is, because you should get into this field because you want to help people. And if you
Hmm.
just keep going to like the Goldfield Hotel and Paracons and then whatever, Gettysburg and all those places are great, but if that's all you want to do, you're missing the point there. You should be in this field to help people. And then when they are at the wrong place at the wrong time, they say and do the wrong thing, and they get an attachment, or many people on their team get an attachment, then
Hmm.
they reach out to me. Now they have somebody coming into their home, and then they
Yeah.
realize firsthand,
Hmm.
living it, how important that is. And then I turn them, and then they start taking a completely different approach to the paranormal investigating. But people are always surprised at that. But a lot of my clients are new to the well, some have been around for a while and they don't know what they did to be targeted, and that can happen too. But a lot of them are the next generation coming up, and they don't have anybody to mentor them or teach them, and they go
Hmm.
out and like they say and do the wrong thing, and they're at the wrong
Yep.
place at the wrong
They
time, and
get they have the bad example of entertainment, basically. Because I mean, you've been involved with television shows, on a network television, it's like 40 minutes of show and 20 minutes of commercial, and they need to make something happen that will keep the viewers' attention, keep them interested, and then they have a payoff at the end. You're watching an episode, and I've always said this, and Dean too. It's like the reality of paranormal investigation is boring. It's really a lot of time of just sitting alone in a room or sitting with one other person in a room and being quiet and not making any noise. And I've gone with Dean on investigations, and I'm too noisy, and so I end up sitting at command central with whoever's watching all the cameras, and I'm eating, and she would bring this tub full of snacks, and I'm just like, oh, because nothing to do. And they all look like owls sitting in the dark, looking around like, did you hear that? And in a TV show, you don't see any of that. They just, you know, A block, they're like, here we are. B block, they're like screaming and hollering and provoking. Then they're going to take care of the problem. Then there's the payoff, and it just doesn't work like that, and in that time though, everything they're doing is sinking into everybody that's watching it. And I often, when we talk about it, I often use like a brand new team as an example, a cemetery. And I say, well, so Joe Blow gets his team together, and they got their matching black shirts and their jeans, and they've got all their gizmos and everything, and they want to get together now, and it's brand new, and they got new people, and let's go to the cemetery. We're going to go investigate. Where can we investigate, since they might not have a place? So let's get together on Sunday, and we're going to go do an investigation in a cemetery. And that's all well and good, except that you might not know that the night before, and I've often told this story, a real sorcerer, a real magician, I'm talking demonic magic or satanic, has been in that cemetery and completed a major ritual just the night before. And the residual of that and the results of that are all around you. So you're in there with your EVP thing, and you're filming, taking pictures and all. And I often use what is called the toad rite or the black cat rite as an example. It's a very long ritual. It involves the sacrificial toad or cat coming to you, and the whole purpose of it, even fine down, is to basically get the bone from the toad or the bone from the cat that will give you power to command the devil, but also power to do things like extreme power over magic. And it's serious old witchcraft, old world magic, and it takes time. And the very last night of it, you go to the cemetery and you find an old grave, and you lay in the grave, and the devil will come to you, or the demons will come to you and try to take the bone that you found. They try to take it away, but you keep it, and eventually what will appear to you is this female creature, beautiful from the belly up, beautiful woman, rotten as a corpse from the belly down, and you're supposed to have sex with that as a magician. And in the grave, you lay with it in the grave, and then when the time comes, and it's time for climax, the ejaculate goes into the grave, and what comes from that's your offering to the dead and to the demons. And what comes from that are ghouls, basically ghouls that become phantoms of that place. So Joe Blow
That's scary.
comes in on
That's scary
Sunday.
stuff.
It's scary and it's horrible, and I mean it's long to explain, obviously, but there's all kind of steps in between that you've done, and that's not the only visit that the conjurer or the sorcerer has paid to that cemetery. And that's why I tell people, I can't keep you from going into cemeteries, but if you have a cemetery that is notorious and there's an old section in it that is really supposed to be really haunted, you need to be careful, because there's a reason it's notorious. That word got out that it's notorious. It's very likely that somebody's done magic there, any kind of magic. old cemeteries, old historic graves. They attract the magicians. Down here in New Orleans, it's voodoo, it's hoodoo all over the cemeteries, and it's the old ones. The one where Marie Laveau is, although they stopped that because of issues with her tomb. Somebody painted Marie Laveau's tomb Pepto-Bismol pink. I kind of thought it was funny. But it was I'm getting off on a rabbit hole. But it was a guy.
She's gonna show up at their house and have something to say about that.
Now
Yeah.
he did it for a good reason. He did it because he thought it needed to be painted, and he saw all the markings on it. Because the thing with Marie Laveau is you go down there, and before this happened, you make your marks, you make X's, you spin around, you get it's wishing on her grave. And he saw all of the defacing on the grave, and he was a little mental. And he went and got a can of pink paint, and he painted the whole thing. And he painted another grave.
Was there any history behind him thinking that? I mean, was she known to have liked pink, or did he
No,
just
it was just the paint that he had. If he'd had green, it probably would have been green. It was just.
Let me ask you something about. I have so many questions I want to ask you. I know I'm not gonna get to them all.
You can.
That's why I'm going to have you back. But first of all, I'm the first one to admit I think New Orleans is the most haunted city in America. For one, two, so. And because there's just so many layers upon layer upon layer upon layer of horrific events. And I mean, even to this day, if I'm not mistaken, I don't want to talk bad about your city. I love New Orleans, but I think it's still on. Maybe even at the top of the list of the murder capital of America.
Yeah.
Or,
now
so it's just evil and evil and evil and evil. I'm going to ask you the next question. After this question, I'm going to ask you is about a famous location, and I forget the name of it. It's I believe that American Horror Story did a series, not the Marie Laveau one, but it was the series of the old. It's not a castle, but an old mansion there in downtown French Quarter that a lot of horrific things had happened.
Oh, okay.
It's supposed to be very haunted. We'll talk about that in a second. But what I want to ask you about her is, from what you know, and you have ancestry in your bloodline and in your family that firsthand witnessed some of these events back in the day.
Yeah.
What can you tell me that you have heard or know really about Marie Laveau? Was she an evil person, or what really was her story?
What happens with Marie Laveau is now it's conflated with the story of her eldest daughter as well. Marie Laveau, and there are in the obituaries of the day at the time she died, the New Orleans Picayune and the Bee, they all had these, gushing praise for Marie Laveau, the elder, the mom. They had this gushing praise that she was a woman of charity. She was a woman of faith, that she helped the poor. She gave, her time to the indigent and everything. And this is all true. She was a woman who went to church every day in St. Louis Cathedral. She knew root work. She knew basic what is kind of called granny magic, like, you've got a boil. She knew how to put a poultice on it to make it, better, to make it break, and then things like that, like herb magic and, mixing up remedies. And so that was her main thing. And she really got associated with voodoo through adherence to her, people who looked up and admired her. And then her daughter, Marie, which I just call Marie II, she was born, I think, 1827 maybe, and she grew up, she looked just like her mother. She was a spinning image of her. That gave rise to the tale or the story that she could be in two places at once, because
she was beautiful.
They were both, right? Yeah, she was beautiful. Not what you call a Creole, because Creoles were not black. There were no black Creoles, but people hate me for saying it. But not in New Orleans. There were no black Creoles, but she was a mulatto, or what they call a yellow woman. And they were very highly prized by the Frenchmen as mistresses, and, kept women. And in fact, she had Christopher Glapion was her, whatever, I guess, partner. And that's how they ended up putting her in that tomb for a little while. But She had the reputation as a woman, a healer and a good woman and doing the good works. And the daughter took on some of that. And she was the one who was the hairdresser. The daughter was. But then as her mother grew older and the interest in the voodoo side of it, the voodoo connection comes in with these women and most of the free blacks and the blacks in the city from Congo fields where the blacks free and bond would go on the weekend to have dances, music. They called it the bambula. And they would go there to meet each other, meet and greet, buy things from a market that was basically run by them, by their own people. And so every weekend, that was where they would go. And it just got to where Marie II began to see, she began to hear about the interest in her mother and began to see people doing other things, voodoo type rituals. And so she saw that there was money to be made off of this and that she could make a name for herself. And so when you think about dancing with the snake and the bambula rituals and going out to the Bayou St. John where it meets the Lake Pontchartrain and having all these rites, and it was the daughter that did that, that made entertainment basically out of it. And it would attract people who would pay to watch them do all of this. Mostly white people from New Orleans it would be a thing, they'd all get in the carriage and go down there and see the ritual. And it was all, all these wild, whatever, and all that kind of molded and became attached to one thing, one Marie Laveau. But it's really a separation of the two. Because when she died, she was hailed as a good woman, as a woman of charity, a woman of faith. And some people in that same newspaper had different ideas about it. And you could see the conflicting views even at the time. They didn't know how to separate what they heard about the daughter from the mother. So what's come down now is there are people who look at her like the spirit of New Orleans, and they treat her like some of the voodoozies, some of these practitioners. There's a priestess that I know who has a ritual every year to honor Marie Laveau and to ask her intercession for the city. And so some people view her like that, as a helpful spirit, as a guardian spirit, and others go to the side and they want to ask her intervention in doing bad things or in forcing things or in doing voodoo magic or hoodoo on somebody. The thing is, it works for both. So you're picking up on Marie Laveau, you're picking up on her daughter's spirit, but invoking her for either, it works because you're not invoking God, you're invoking a spirit. And all of the spirits of voodoo are really dead ancestral spirits. They are like in Africa, they are spirits from like antiquity whose, I guess, reputation sustained itself, that they did so much that it stayed in their minds. And so they became these godlike beings, these Loa that they worship, and they asked to intercede. And so they just brought all that over here when they came. And it was the same. Now it's the same thing with Marie Laveau. So she wasn't an evil woman. She didn't like stick pins and dolls and all that kind of stuff. I wouldn't put it past her daughter, but I think her daughter was doing it like, give me $1 and I'll stick this thing in here. You got to pay me if you want me to stick something. So, the two became one, and it became this legendary woman of New Orleans.
Well, I'm gonna take you back down memory lane here. I don't know if you remember, but many, many years ago, somebody from New Orleans sent me a voodoo doll. It had no return. I knew it was from New Orleans, but they didn't put their exact address on there. They didn't sign it, put their name on it. But this anonymous voodoo doll arrived to me, and I thought it was cool. I put it up on a windowsill somewhere, and this is many, many years ago. And it wasn't until many years later of a lot of bad luck that finally one day I was sitting there and I looked at it and I went, oh, how stupid could I have been? It's the freaking doll. And you were one of a few people that advised me how to bind it. And I did that. And as soon as I did that, everything got better. Things really, I mean, I've had some bad luck since then, but I know it's not attributed to that. What was, what was behind that? Do you think? This
Well,
person sending me.
well, look what you do. I mean, there's light that comes from you. They are either envious or they wanted to stop you, or maybe, 6 degrees of separation. You might have insulted somebody that they know by, talking about their practices not being good or whatever. I don't know how they may have heard of you. They may have just seen you and just said, watch this. And they're, because there are people that do that kind of stuff. But if you remember Paranormal State, okay,
Yeah.
can you remember them?
Yeah. Yeah.
They had a voodoo doll from New Orleans. They had this voodoo doll from New Orleans, okay? Clearly a tourist item. The only thing didn't have was a magnet to stick it on the refrigerator, but it was clearly one of these, I don't know, manufactured items, or multi-manufactured. Like they're a dime a dozen. You can pick them up at the airport, or you can go pick it up in the French Quarter, and every little store sells them down there. The thing about it is, it's totally harmless. It's not even a fetish. It's just a souvenir at that point. But if you take it and you go, oh, your name is, this looks like so-and-so to me, and you put that name on that thing, it begins to take on qualities, and you have concentrated your energy on it and given it a name. That's why I say whenever anybody gets like artsy fartsy and does these things and voodoo dolls and stuff, it's fine. Just don't name it. Don't give it a name, because then it has a name, then it'll seek a purpose, right? So even the most harmless, funny looking, goofy looking thing can actually be, an object of, or become a problem, an object of problem, basically becoming a problem to you. I don't know what I want to say about object, but you know what I mean? It can become a problem because in the preparation of those things, and in voodoo, you'll see the poppet, the doll type thing. But poppets are known in old European or old style witchcraft. They're old. Poppets go back into antiquity, making little dolls out of wax and putting clothes on them. And I mean, it's an old practice.
Yeah.
But it becomes a visceral thing with the practitioner. And voodoo is a little more refined about it. But here in New Orleans, you get hoodoo. You get this overlapping with hoodoo, and hoodoo is more visceral than voodoo. Anybody can really do hoodoo. If you're mad at somebody, for example, you're really mad and somebody really did you something, and you're so mad, and you go out and you grab a bunch of grass, you just pull up some weeds, and you say, I'm so mad, and you put strings around it, and you give it that name of who that person is, and you put all your attention on it, and then you stick it up there on the dresser, and you go through your house all day cleaning, and you just rail down on it. I hate you at this again. You just put all your intent on it all day long. And then when the time comes, the proper time for cursing or even for killing, which would not be a good idea, but for cursing and strafing, you get it, and it has something to do with old witchcraft and following the planets. You want to curse, you're going to go to Mars, and you do all that, and you're going to do it, and it'll work. Believe me, it's that intent and that will to. Oh, you can't do it any other way, and that's where it becomes so popular. You can't get back at somebody, so you do this.
Let me add this to that, and I'll have you comment on this. We've got about 5-6 minutes left before I have to say goodbye to you. I'm going to have you back because I know I'm not going to get to all my questions.
Oh,
But
okay.
on that note, for anybody out there who is thinking about doing the kinds of things that you're talking about, to anybody, if they're want to become that type of a practitioner of those things, there's a price to pay though for that
Yep.
stuff, and I'd like you to address that.
Well, the price to pay is you think you're controlling these spirits. You think you're telling them what to do, And I have seen people who think that they're doing the right thing by these spirits and invoking them and using them, and people have been killed. People have died mysteriously, dropped dead. And this is recently. I know this. This is part of the reason I got away from a lot of it, because it's real. You think you have them under control, and then one day they pull the rug out under you. And in one situation, which I know we can talk about it more at length, but in one situation, a command was given. What I want is XYZ, except that they left a loophole, and it was involved in a love thing. Love is the primary thing that voodoo and hoodoo has done. Love and money. Love first. They wanted a lover, they wanted this person, and they left a loophole. And if you leave a loophole for these spirits, who you have no right to really be telling to do anything, and they're mad enough, and they're mad, but they have to listen to you because you've basically evoked them, so they have to listen. But if you leave a loophole, they will use that loophole to get out of your command. And that eventually led to the death of somebody. And then you have to deal with that at the end. When you die, if you don't find a way, if you don't repent and you don't confess and you don't turn around, those spirits are waiting on you. And they're basically like, oh yeah, you remember when you said for me to do this, or you remember this? And they'll torment your soul because they are what they are. They're in this cosmos and in our reality for whatever reason God has them here, but not to deliver us lottery numbers and lovers and money and break up marriages and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's really, when you think about it, I mean, it's like we're the demons, fallen angel level demons, right? And you're going to draw them into this reality. It's like pulling a human being through a keyhole and then expect them to do something for you. It's like, I'm not defending them, but they just act the way that they act. But if you just got pulled through a keyhole and people demanding stuff of you, you're going to be mad, right? I mean, you're going to remember that person that did that. And
You
when you
say
were talking,
keyhole. You say
yeah,
keyhole, and I think of that movie, The Skeleton Key.
yeah,
How that movie to me felt real. And
yeah,
I
there
don't
was
really know that much about voodoo and Southern hoodoo, but what did
that.
you think about a movie like that? How realistic
That
was that?
they had some real down to the brick dust that they were putting on they did their research with that one. They did definitely do their research. They weren't lazy about it.
It was a
And
scary
I mean,
movie.
yeah, it was, because it really happens. People just, oh, that don't really, yes, it does.
And then
And I've seen
even like that old movie that took place, a lot of it took place in New Orleans, was the one with Mickey Rourke and De
Angel Heart.
Niro.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Angel
Uh,
Heart.
uh, they did their research on that too. That was a
Yeah,
very frightening movie too, because he'll come to collect. The devil will come to collect if you get
yep,
into cahoots with him. And
that's right.
that's if you haven't
That's
seen that
right.
movie, that's a good
And
one.
you were briefly you were talking about when you were answering, I think you were answering the mail earlier about how come exorcisms don't work. That's part of the
Yeah,
reason.
please do give me your
Part of the
opinion on that.
reason is, well, part of it is that these practitioners, even if they're just like Wiccans and they're white magic and they say, oh, I'm white magic Wiccans and all, they bind themselves to something when they do their workings. Something's listening, something's there and giving them what they ask. And a lot of people, when they get into these straits where they need an exorcism or they need deliverance and all, and it doesn't work, it's because some people like that feeling of power that working magic of any kind gives them, from white magic all the way to black magic. They like that feeling of power. They like that feeling of being special to these supernatural entities, or that these things come at my beck and call. And a lot of it is they won't turn that loose in their hearts. They won't give it up. I mean, you can be kind of dark and gothic and still be a Catholic and still be faithful to Christ. You can be that way if that's just what you like. But when you're at a point where you just really can't give up, and it's a subconscious thing, and you may not even realize that you're not giving it up. But then there are also times where it's not ready to give you up, which that, even though they're living a life and they threw out all their stuff and they don't fool with magic anymore and they don't go ghost hunting and they don't any of it. If that thing's not ready to get gone, it will live with you quietly and never show itself. And you'll think you're going along fine, and then all of a sudden you realize it's there. Usually when you die, or usually when it's too late. But a lot of the time in their hearts, it's pride and it's vanity. It's the seven deadly sins: pride and vanity. And they have pride because they know they can manipulate things through magic, and that's hard to let go. It
Yeah.
really is. It's very tempting, especially if you do something and it worked. It's very tempting, and it just appeals to your pride, and that's Lucifer right there. Pride. That's what's got you. Pride and
Well,
power.
listen, I want to make sure everybody knows this. You have, once again, you have ALYNE Pustanio author Facebook page, and on there also is your website, which is
Oh, my website's down and I'm redoing it. I'm
Oh,
redoing
no.
it.
Okay.
It's down, but we're constructing a new one. So just find me on Facebook or Amazon. All my books are on Amazon if they want to read. I have the Haunting Tales of Old New Orleans, and I have the Supernatural Dangers, in which I talk a lot about things that happened to me in my life. And I'm working on follow-ups to them. And then I have a lot of books that I've contributed to, the Hoodoo and Conjure Quarterly and some of the Brad Steiger books. So if you want to do that, they can find me on Amazon. And soon my website will be up. Or come to the Supernatural Substation and listen to our shows.
Absolutely.
That would be great. We're on YouTube.
Let everybody know when the show airs and where they can find the Supernatural.
Well, it's not a strict. We do a weekly show, but it'll usually upload around Saturday or Sunday of the weekend following. So we're not on like we did it Wednesday, so it'll be there Friday. But usually on every Saturday we'll have like a new show. And we're getting into where I probably will be reading ghost stories from people submitting their ghost stories. And we're going to do some like in depth. In August, we have the two women who are friends of mine, which you would be interested. And both of them are demonologists. They worked with demons, but one gave it up, but one still does. So we're going to have those two ladies, and we're going to talk about who gave it up and why the other one still does her work and stuff. And we tried to have her on the show, and we had nothing but communication issues. That the one I'm saying, the one who gave it up, we tried to have it on the show. We just had communication issues. We had to reschedule, and I've been trying to reschedule with her, and we just haven't been able to. So it's like I said, you let it go, but it hasn't let go of you. It's not. It don't. And every time we tried to talk specifically about that, we could talk about anything. But as we got to that subject about her turning around and not doing work, we'd lose contact with her. She can you hear me? Can you hear me? You're doing all that stuff.
Well, do me a big favor.
Mm-hmm.
After I say goodbye to you, reach out to Bernadine. Let her know that I know that she feels bad that we weren't able to hook up. I'm going to send you both some dates to choose. I got to get you both back here.
Okay.
You know I love you. You know I respect you. You've been on my prayer list for years.
Thank you.
So I pray for you often.
I'll have to write to you about something, because I seem to have come really quickly. Some people was like, I was all this witchy kind of stuff, but I really wasn't. I mean, it just seemed that way. And then all of a sudden I was like, you need to come to Christ. But there was something that really happened that made that break.
Please do. I would love to hear that.
Yeah, I'll tell you. Actually, I'm going to write it in the nonfiction that's coming up about all the hauntings in my life. But I'll tell you about what happened. Scared the hell out of me. I've never been so scared in my life, and that's what it takes. It's like, leave it alone. Yeah. So yeah, we'll come back, definitely.
I know. I want you to have a beautiful remainder of your Friday evening and your weekend. Once again, you know I love you and respect you. Say hi to Bernadine for me. I'll throw some dates at you guys, and I will be talking to you very soon. Okay.
Thank you so much for having me, and you always make me feel so good. You're definitely positive. So I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Okay, I'll see you later. Bye now.
All right.
I'll get this right. ALYNE Pustanio, the Supernatural Substation, and I'm not going to say her website because it's down, but she's got a ALYNE Pustanio -author Facebook page, and I'm going to get her back. I'm going to get her and Bernadine back, and I want to know some more of these folkloric history stories dealing with New Orleans. I don't know why I find that city so fascinating. I was there once. Thought I was stalked by a vampire. Also stayed in the French Quarter for 10 days in a haunted hotel down there for a convention. So I've got a little history with New Orleans. Anyway, what do I want to say to you guys? Besides the fact that I love you all, and thank you all for tuning in, because I don't have a show without you guys. www.usocc.org or bishopjameslong.com. Just go there and be pleasantly surprised. That's the church that I belong to. And you'll find links to night prayer there. You'll find links to Bible study there. And everyone's welcome to come. And we also have a United States Old Catholic Church clergy and parishioners private Facebook group page that you can join. You can look up and join, and everyone's welcome to that too. No judgment. Everyone's welcome. And I don't know what else I can say about that. Is since meeting Bishop Long on the set of Eli Roth Presents the Legion of Exorcists and entering his seminary and becoming an ordained Catholic priest and having him lay hands on me, my life was already pretty darn good because I baptized Catholic life since I was a baby. So my life's always been good. Thank you, God. Thank you, Jesus. But it's really, really good. Now, Eli Roth Presents the Legion of Exorcists. I don't know a streaming service that's not on. I still get people saying, how can I watch it? I want to watch it. Get a streaming service that carries it, or you can buy it for under $10, the whole season 1 at Amazon Prime Video. No word yet on a season 2. There's talks, but no word yet on a season 2. You can find me on Facebook now at Lawrence Maurice. And when you get to that page, you'll also see that I mentioned that's a stage name, and my real name's on there too, but I'm on there under Lawrence Maurice. Let me throw out a shout out to Zach's website, communitypayitforward.us. That's another website that I just want you to go to and be pleasantly surprised. Check it out. Thank you to Things Network. Thank you to PACT, little p, capital ACT, Podcasting for All Coming Together channel, Parapost Network, Temple of Phoenix Rising Entertainment, and Spirit, Alabama. Thank you to all those networks for simulcasting my show. God bless you all for doing that. Next show. Oh my gosh, we're already into next month. Woo! Oh no. Where's my next show? Okay. June. Next Friday, June 7th. First Friday with Father Sean. Right here. That'll only be live on my show page, Father Sean Whittington's counselor page, and the PAC channel. And that's a very special show, heavily religious based show. If you're looking for that, that's next Friday the 7th. First Fridays with Father Sean. Okay, it is bad joke time. Everybody sent me in a ton of jokes. I'm going to pull a bad joke that one of you sent in out of this haunted carnival barker hat. My poor attempt, I'll get one from the bottom. My poor attempt to put a smile on everybody's face before I say good night and have a great weekend. And I love you all, and you're all on the prayer list. What do you call a can opener that doesn't work? A can't opener. Good night, Danny. Good night, Jack. Good night, Dog. Good night, Harold. Rest in peace. Good night, Ernie. Good night, Bill. Good night, Dan. I love you all. God bless you all in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Peace.